Hey Rebels, my name is Matthew Barton, and I'm the host of the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. When you're in the liquor store, you are confronted with more variety and choice than ever before. When it comes to craft beer, 5 new breweries just opened in Saskatchewan in 2020. And if we imagine each local brewery is canning at least 5 different beers, that's more than 90 different beers to choose from. And we haven't even started talking about imports, wine, and other spirits. That's why stores employ experts like sommeliers and cicerones, people who have a trained palate and a vast knowledge of products and styles. They're there to help you make good choices and get the best bang for your buck. Angela Senenko is a sommelier with Saskatoon Co-op 8th Street Liquor. Today, I want to ask her all about her work, helping people navigate the wide world of beer, wine, and spirits. So let's get into it. Angela, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How's it going in COVID times?
It's been good. It's actually quite busy at the liquor store in COVID times. Believe it or not, people are drinking a lot.
Nowhere to go, nothing to do, might as well have a beer.
Yeah, definitely. Things have been busy for us, and during COVID, I actually worked at home for a few months, and we built a website for online shopping and home delivery.
What was that like for you?
It was interesting. I actually liked working at home, but I definitely didn't get out of my pajamas some days, and was snacking a lot, but it's fun to, I did all the product descriptions and got all the pictures for the products. So it was still fun.
So what's your background when it comes to wine and beer and spirits? How did you get into it?
So I got into it actually back in 2010. I got hired at a private wine store in Winnipeg where I was living at the time. I was going through university and needed a part-time job. And at that time I was drinking like barefoot Sauvignon Blanc. I knew nothing about wine, so I'm not really even sure why they hired me, but they did, and our staff meetings were tasting through 10 different kinds of wines. I read a lot of books, and that's when my interest really peaked.
Was it a matter of job security to become a sommelier, or was it something that became a passion of yours?
It definitely became a passion. It was something... through that job, I started doing wine certifications as well, and I did it on the side. So I graduated university, I became a dental hygienist, but I always did wine kind of on the side as a passion. And, not all of us are lucky enough to have your passion to become a full-time job. But for me, I did get that opportunity in 2018. I started as a full-time somm at the Co-op liquor stores.
I heard you guys are pretty hardcore about your wine.
We are. We're not snobs, though. We like wine to be fun and approachable, but we do like to have quality wines and a good selection, great price. A big part of my job is finding a $25 wine that drinks like a $50 wine.
How hard is that?
You know what? Not so hard when you taste as many wines as I do. But there are ones out there. You just kind of need to know your producers and to sample a lot.
The way I'm a big nerd about beer, my wife is about wine.
Oh, really?
She's really good at figuring out, this is the best wine you should get. This is the greatest value for your dollar. She's like, stay away from that overpriced crap. And she's really good at picking out flavors and aromas. And she actually kicks my butt when it comes to tasting beer, but she's much more into wine.
Well, you know what? That's a great thing. And having a great palate, some of that comes naturally, like with your wife. But some people really have to work at it. And there's some people that tell me, we teach WSET, so the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, and have students come in all the time. And they're like, the theory I've got down pat, but the tasting, I'm just so terrible at explaining anything, grabbing aromas, flavors. But I always tell them it has to do with studying and, knowing typical flavors and aromas in certain grapes. And then just practice tasting, writing down tasting notes every time you're tasting wine.
People think it's just a lot of partying, but it can be a lot of work, can it?
Oh, for sure. It's a lot of work. I finished my level 4 diploma course in San Francisco last year. And so that was 6 units over 2 years. And it was wine and spirits. But my last exam, I wrote 18 pages in like 6 hours, and my wrist was killing me. It was a lot of work.
Were you tasting at the same time, or was it just a written exam?
All the exams had an essay component and then a tasting component. So like 5 essay questions and then tasting 12 wines, my last exam was.
Do you have any do you have any favorite memories from your training to become a sommelier? Is anything that stands out as like, I'm never going to get this moment?
Um, Mostly like training to become, a lot of it I did distance education. So I was studying alone. I had a few other people start the training with me, but then they dropped out kind of as it moved along. So I did a lot of that alone. But there was one exam where I went out and then I almost slept the night before, and then I almost slept through the exam the next day. But I made it on time and I passed the exam.
Oh no.
But the best the best part for me about being a somm too is just seeing people's palates evolve and change over time. So we run a locker program at the store, which is basically like a personalized wine of the month club, where I meet with people, I discuss their preferences, their budget, and then I choose wine for them every month. So it's mostly people come to me when they're stuck buying the same wine and don't know what to get. I can take the guesswork out of it. If I know what they like to drink, I can kind of expand their palate. So when I see people, they come to me, they say, my palate's completely changed since joining the locker program. They're open up to a whole new world. I bet you get that with people in beer too. They'll say, I hate IPAs, or I'll never drink this or sour. But it's the same with people in wine with Chardonnays. There's so many different expressions of Chardonnay that there's probably one that you're going to like.
I often say to people, you're on a craft beer journey.
Yeah.
So what you liked last year might not be what you like this year. And
Totally.
of course, it's an agricultural product. So the hops can change, the grain can change, and the product won't taste the same year to year. So
Yeah.
you might discover something new to appreciate. And unfortunately, it might just be a one-time thing, a special magical moment you'll never get back. But man, was it great to have it.
Yeah, for sure. And with wine too, vintages change. So, the wine you love one year, you might not love the next year.
That's really tough. We need experts to help us figure this out.
Yeah. And so knowing your vintages of like all the different countries and areas, and, it takes a good app to look those up for sure.
Is choosing wine becoming more difficult for people, or is it getting easier to pick when you're looking at wine and beer and spirits?
I would say it's getting more difficult just with the amount of producers that are out there. And then there's so many people experimenting, doing new different styles that kind of aren't what that region is known for. So if you buy, especially in the new world, like in Australia, if you buy a bottle of wine, it might not be typical to what that region is known for anymore. And it's definitely hard for people to know. And a lot of people buy wine based on the label, believe it or not. But it doesn't mean the juice is actually good.
What would be some tips for people looking to buy a bottle of wine?
Well, first of all, is to talk to somebody in the wine store, somebody that's knowledgeable, somebody like me. I'm really lucky in my job. I get to taste a lot of the products that come into the store. And it's all about personal preferences. So there's no like right or wrong in wine. There's no, this wine is terrible, this wine is good. What's good to me might be awful to you. But if you come in, tell me what you like and what you normally drink, kind of what your normal ballpark budget is, then I can find something comparable or something new and exciting that you would like. If you can't talk to anybody, there's a few apps that I use. Wine Spectator has a $3.99 per month subscription, and so it has ratings of wines. I'm not huge on wine ratings because it's very subjective, but it gives you like a ballpark and a description of the wine.
I think we're encountering that difficulty when we're launching new beers that people aren't used to and don't know what to expect. So when we started with IPAs, 5-6 years ago, barely anyone drank an IPA, and they were just like, oh God, this is so gross and it's terrible. But the hardcore beer geeks, they were like, this is amazing, and finally we have good IPAs here. And after about 2 or 3 years, you realize you'd see those same people who in the beginning would never drink an IPA, and they're like, IPA is my jam, it's all I drink, I want nothing else. The big one for me is I found if somebody smokes, they have a very different preference for beer than somebody who does not smoke.
Right, because it changes your palate for sure.
Right. They want like big, bold, aggressive, spicy, bitter, punch you in the mouth. And they seem to care less for more subtle flavors.
Yeah, and so it's a weird thing about preferences, because my preference, I find people go through a wine journey where, sometimes they want those big, oaked, heavily extracted, residual sugar Napa Valley cabs that just kind of punch you in the face when you drink them. But then they go through, they move past that and then go to more like subtle, elegant French wines that are more balanced in that way. So it is a lot of it's personal preference, but then it's also expanding your palate. So I tell people to never close themselves off to a certain grape varietal or a certain country, because they can really miss out on a whole world of wine.
If you had to pick one wine to recommend today, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. We have a line from Italy. It's Rocca di Castiglione. We get them direct, so we order a pallet at a time from the winery. So it comes at a better cost to the consumer. And so we have a few different Chiantis. One's a very, very affordable price at $16.99. And a lot of our like real wine geeks, that's their everyday drinking wine.
Their table wine?
Yeah.
My wife's always talking about that.
And you're not breaking bank with it, but we just get a really great price on that. So
nice.
It drinks like it's $30.
That's a good value. And
yeah.
You're getting a $30 one for $16,
You bet.
My wife will often see the sales in the flyers.
Yes.
And immediately she'll be like, that one, that one, that one. She'll circle them. She was like, these are all way undervalued. She's like, I'm going to get them right now.
Yeah. And we actually just had a fine wine sale over Thanksgiving, and we were selling off wines basically at cost. And so it was a great deal. And we have some Cyber Monday deals on our website. And so there's always sales, and lots of sales coming up over Christmas too. And so when your favorite wine goes on sale, in the flyer, you got to run out and get it right away before it sells out.
I feel like wine drinkers are paying very close attention.
Yeah.
Beer drinkers are more casual. They're like, I'm going to get that today. Boink. And then they take it.
Yeah. And people that know their wine, and I mean wine generally, like you can be paying $50 a bottle for wine, whereas beer is typically in a lower price range. So, to try a new beer that's, $20 for a 4-pack versus a new wine that's $50, it's not as much of a risk for some people.
What do you think is going to happen this season? What are you guys anticipating happening for the Christmas season? Do you think it's going to slow down or pick up and be normal?
Well, definitely we run events in our tasting room every week. So different themes like, different grape varietals or different countries that the public can sign up for. We've had to kind of limit our capacity because of new COVID regulations. So we've seen, that not as many people are going out for events, but we're also doing dinners with the Saskatoon Club every month. And those take place in different rooms where they can really space people out. So we've seen a lot of attendance, like our one on December 10th is sold out already, but not as many private events. We normally do a lot of private parties for businesses, and a lot of those businesses are coming and we're doing online Zoom tastings for that instead.
We've discussed doing Zoom tastings as well. We just haven't really fully wrapped our heads around it.
Yeah, it's the logistics of it.
Yeah. One of the things we're looking at is figuring out home delivery.
Yeah.
And I know we've teamed up with Coop to do home delivery in Saskatoon.
Yes. So we actually have a deal with Rebellion starting tomorrow. If you buy 6 Rebellion products, either 6 4-pack cans, or you could even buy just single bottles as well, you receive free delivery on your order, and that's for the whole month of December.
So starting December 1st and then
Yes.
all the way through to the 30, is it 31?
Yes. Yeah, so it's a great deal, a great time to stock up on beer for Christmas. And you just had the release of Pandemonium, which I'm excited to try.
Do you like coffee?
I do. I love coffee.
It's a coffee blonde latte, kind of golden coconut, big coffee flavor. Like the coconut adds a little more of a creamy character, but it's not super punchy in the mouth.
Oh, awesome. That sounds amazing. Right up my alley.
One of the interesting things that we talk about is how Saskatoon has a bit of a different personality than Regina when it comes to craft beer and spirits and wine. But one of the things that we were learning was Saskatoon has a real desire for home delivery. So I'm really excited to hear that you guys are kind of filling that niche and meeting that market.
Yeah, for sure. And it was something kind of we had been talking about for a long time. And when COVID hit and people weren't going out, it just seemed like the right time where we're like, okay, we're going to do this. And, like 5 of us, we hunkered down and we just worked and we built a website in a few months, and it's beautiful. shoplickeryxc.ca. And you can get same day delivery. There's 2 delivery windows, 1 to 4 p.m. or 6 to 9 p.m. So it's actually quite convenient.
I was taking a look at the website. It does look really good, and it's easy to use.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a technical nerd. I like looking at that stuff and seeing how smooth it transitions and how hard is it to check out, and it's not hard at all.
Yeah, we definitely wanted it to be user-friendly and really easy to navigate.
If I could recommend one beer to you as a sommelier,
yes,
it would be our cherry lambic. Have you tried it yet?
I haven't, no.
I've kind of described it as it's a beer for wine drinkers.
Oh, cool.
Like my wife, she's got that wine palate. I'm like, babe, you got to try this out. Your friends are going to like it. Your wine drinking friends are going to dig it. And then one of them came over and dropped off some flowers on the weekend, and I slid her a bottle of this cherry lambic, and she goes, "Oh my God, a lambic! I haven't had one since Belgium." And I'm like, "Did you go to Cantillon?" And she goes, "Yes, I did go to Cantillon. That's the last time I had this lambic." And I'm like, "Well, here's our take on the Cantillon. Kind of, it's our love note to them, you know." And she knew immediately. She was just like, "Yay!"
And did she like it?
She didn't get back to me yet. She was saving it for a special occasion.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Well, yeah, that one, we just got more of that in last week, so I'll have to pick one up for sure.
It was aged in barrels for 2 years. It's got like this complex, nuanced, tart flavor, big cherry blast. I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome.
One final parting note, if people want to find out more about what you're doing and maybe they want to track you down at the store and ask for your advice, what should they do?
You can email liquor@saskatooncoop.ca to get in touch with me, or you can phone the store. I'm based out of the 8th Street location. The phone number is 306-242-3030. Or you could just stop on in and ask for me, and I'm usually around and available.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Angela, thank you for your time today.
Hey, well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Rebels, thanks for listening today. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, be sure to join us on our brand new Facebook group page, The Rebellion Brewing Podcast. I'm going to include links to the Saskatoon Co-op Liquor Store's website so you can find all the information we've talked about today on the podcast with one simple click. I'm also proud to let you know we're members of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network, a one-stop shop for tons of locally produced shows from across our province. You can find them at the saskpodcastnetwork.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped so you don't miss out on the latest news in Saskatchewan craft beer. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.